I had to ride a bike on my mission. And we rode in skirts. And there were a couple of things that we did. A lot of sisters like would try to like clothespin the middle of their skirt so that it wouldn't blow up. And like, I always was kind of like, the Lord either wants me on a bike or he wants me modest. He can't have both all the time, you know, and that's not entirely true, but it just didn't work most of the time with the safety pin between the skirt. And so my companion and I actually would sew, like we would let down the hems and little parts of our skirt and sew rocks into the hem so it would weigh down the skirt so it wouldn't blow up in the wind. And that was really helpful because that way we didn't have to like pin it together or do anything. It just stayed down. And tights were awesome for bikes because it was like wearing pants if you wear the tights. And during the winter, because it gets really cold, and it's a different kind of cold than West Coast cold because the humidity is it just hits you to your bones. Like you can't put on more layers to fight the humidity. It just hurts. And so we would wear like fleece lined tights with like, with the long garments as well over them, or the tights over them. And it always kept us pretty warm. And it was also like another way to stay modest and to make sure we were modest on bikes. Other tips for sisters, I would just say, like safety wise, just be smart. And being afraid isn't helpful, but being attentive is. So, you know, if you're afraid constantly, you're going to look really vulnerable. But if you're just attentive and you're aware of your surroundings and you make sure that if somebody's been following you for a little while, you change direction and you don't let them see where your home is really important. And something a relative of mine told me before I went that stands true is that like if you feel like someone is following you, you act like a crazy person. Like you start talking, you start twitching, you start doing things that are just erratic because people don't mess with crazy people. Like even criminals don't want to mess with somebody that's going to go crazy on them, you know? And so that was always a pretty good safety tip. Members will try to give you pepper spray, but pepper spray really isn't that effective because you have to like get it out of a little case and stuff like that. So I mean, if it happens, sure, but I never had a problem or needed to use pepper spray, but I never really felt like it would be effective. Another thing for sisters, shoes are really important, but they don't have to be hideous. I had a really hard time wearing shoes that were really ugly. I didn't feel good about myself in them, which is super vain and kind of shallow, but like, if I didn't feel like I looked good, I wasn't going to be effective. And I've noticed that like, as a missionary, on the days that I got up and got ready, instead of was just like, I'm a missionary, I have no one to impress, I was more effective because I felt like I was taking care of myself and that I felt like I represented the Lord better that way. But I also chopped my hair and I hated it. So unless you know that you look good with short hair and you'll like it, I would suggest being careful about impulse haircuts as a missionary. And then, I don't know, other things for sisters. Wear skirts with pockets. Oh my goodness. Skirts with pockets. I bought so many ugly skirts just because they had pockets and it was totally worth it. Because having like another hand or another thing to hold things is so much easier because your bag will get full. And so having like a pocket for cards, like Mormon.org cards or referral cards was so handy because that way you didn't have to be like, wait just a second, I'm going to get into my bag. And it was just like, here you go, you know, and to keep your planner in and things like that. Do not stretch for exercise. Oh my goodness. I saw so many sisters try to pull that off, and so many of those sisters gained like 30 pounds. Like, just do cardio. That's really all you need to do. Do cardio. Run, do jumping jacks, jump rope or whatever, but so many people try to be like, I'm stretching, and that is not exercise. So don't stretch for exercise. One thing that was really significant, and this was more in relation to getting along with companions, and that has blessed my life ever since, is that you cannot expect people to read your mind. And so you have to tell people what you need. And you have to tell people, specifically your companion, you have to tell your companion if something is wrong or if they're doing something that bothers you. And you have to tell them in a straightforward way. There were times where this is such a sister thing, not an elder thing at all, I'm sure. But there were times where I would have a really bad day and I would just be like, look, after we're done planning, and these were with companions that I was really close to, but I just need you to play with my hair for like 10 minutes. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and that's what I need. And it was just so much easier because it allowed me and her to meet each other's needs in a way that was productive, that allowed us to relieve stress, and that didn't keep us guessing, you know. And those were things that were important too. In like, I would tell my companions, you know, in companionship inventory, just being honest and being like, I love you. You have to put the toilet paper back on the roll. Like, it's really important to me. Or on things that weren't important, you just don't say them because you get over it, you know. But I think being absolutely honest and not expecting people to read your mind and not expecting people to be like, you know, you did a great job, when they don't know that that's what you need to hear. Like, sometimes I would be like, Sister Bowman, or whatever, whoever my companion was, Sister Bowman, I need you to tell me that lesson went awesome because I need to hear it from somebody other than myself, you know, or I need you to tell me how I can improve that lesson. And then take it with, you know, with honesty. I think women have a tendency to think that if they ask for compliments or if they ask for advice or those things, it's not as genuine. And that's totally untrue. And that applies to, you know, your companions, that will apply to your future husband, that will apply to, you know, whoever you associate with. And so that's really important.